Good morning.
Good
Oh,
morning.
there's always two to click.
There are two to click, yes.
Good morning.
Friday, April 1st.
Oh my gosh, April 1st in pools.
Yeah. So we were just talking before we went live here about like what is April 1st and like a little impishness, a little mischievousness. So we'll see what our
What the
wheel
wheel gives us.
says. Yeah. What do we want to bring into our conversation today?
I love the sound effect.
Oh, we got back to lion's mane.
Oh, again. That's right. We did that.
We did that. But what do we want to continue in that conversation? Because what we chatted about last time is just the lion's mane being a type of mushroom. Yes. Yeah. And how that supports creativity.
Yeah. Well, you brought that other thing up, the other sort of physical lion's mane.
Yeah.
We could explore that. I was like just thinking about
how does a lion's mane, how are lions creative? I wonder what.
Well, good question. They're pretty functionally oriented. I think play is where they like rough and tumble play.
Yeah, there's an energy about it. Like they're very purposeful. They eat and they rest and they protect. And in that rest time, there's play.
Procreate,
yes. Kind of keep going. Yeah. So there is that energy of they do know how to play.
Oh yes. I mean, that rough and tumble play that they do with each other. I don't know. I love, like, I have so particularly our youngest daughter, that is really a way that she loves to connect. And I remember being a kid and having this, like, I yearned for rough and tumble play. I was a total tomboy. I like, for a good part of my like childhood had like short hair and people thought I was a boy, and I was like always outside and like looking for tree houses. Anyways, I had this real yearning for rough and tumble play, and like the only sort of expression of that was like judo or martial arts, and that ended up not being something that I could really, I wanted to, but I couldn't because I could only do so many sports, blah blah blah. It was expensive. It had like a whole suit and the whole thing. But I remember so clearly when I had little moments of like, like jumping on somebody's back or, stuff like that, that was really, it was something I really needed. And I see it with my youngest. And so we go onto the trampoline here outside. We have this giant trampoline and we just do this wrestling. We wrestle. And we play.
Well, yeah, and that reminds me of my girls loving to wrestle with their dad, and there was this playful nature. And honestly, I didn't know how to be with that. It was not something I grew up around. And so, but I can see the benefits of just being able to just move, and it's a form of touch that's just like a little bit more, I hesitate to say this, aggressive, but it's more elemental.
It's where we learn how it's an essential piece of human and mammal development, where we learn a lot of empathy and compassion, because we learn about the boundaries of what hurts people and where it goes into that sort of too rough,
the edge.
Yep. Like there's all this research. When my kids were littler, I was really into this stuff, and there's a whole movement around rough and tumble play. One of the things that came up in that movement, and the person that did all that research around it, was that one of the things that they noticed when they did all this sort of psychological research into folks who were incarcerated and had specifically more in sort of the sociopath sort of train of things, that one of the patterns that they noticed was that those folks often as children were never allowed to have rough and tumble play, and so they never got to develop that sort of physical, hands-on, direct what do you call it, like sort of that direct response to, oh, that was too rough, or that hurt me, or
Well,
anyways.
I imagine there's probably like the limits of being able to say no and stopping, right? There's probably more rooted trauma in that as well, right? Not being able to safely say like, oh, I'm done with this level of play. Like, it was fun and now it's not so fun.
Yeah, because you know how often it goes into how rough and tumble play ends up in somebody getting hurt, because
we always hear that, like, you guys somebody's gonna get hurt here.
Which is actually, I think, really important in terms of our development as a species, or as a human, is to be allowed to play with those boundaries.
And those edges, right? And where if we bring this back into creativity, is like, what are those edges we're bouncing up against that we want to go and just push a little bit past, but recognize like, okay, and now there's an impact here. What's that impact? What's my relationship with it? How is it impacting other people? But giving ourselves permission to go there a bit, to see what's on the other side, to get a bit out of the comfort zone, but not to go into a danger zone.
Yeah. And another thing that comes up for me is, I was just thinking about like the feeling that I have after having had a little rough and tumble play. It really, because of all that physical connection, it tends to really sort of feed the serotonin chemical. So which is a bonding hormone. Yes. So, or a bonding chemical. And so there's all those different layers to it, right? Of the connection, and then the learning about impact, and anyways. I just think
it's just bringing back so many memories of my girls when they were little, and they're like, okay, it's time to wrestle. And so we do this like little countdown, 3, 2, 1, and then we'd like, grapple and play. And they were the ones inviting that in. That to them was play. Yeah. And it really created connection and bonding.
I just had an idea. Okay, what about I think in Italy, we should do a mud wrestling situation.
Oh my gosh, yes, that sounds like fun.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah,
I've always
and bringing it to be a playfulness space, right? Like, what does that open up to safely like interact and not be afraid of one's bodies and interacting in that space?
Yeah, and like, oh God, yeah. I think it's gonna be so fun.
Well, it's giving me a new appreciation. I can get judgmental about things. Me, I'm never judgmental. I say that playfully because I can be. I have a very strong inner critic of myself and others. And it's like recognizing when that's happening. But what I just realized is like, there's the whole like World Wrestling Federation. And like, it's very much a spectacle, right? But they're having fun. And so I'm just like, oh, well, what if that is a version of fun for them? And have respect for that, right? It may not be my version, but it's their version. So, and everybody gets to have that.
I need it. I need some rough, like physical exertion, pushing, and I'm not getting a whole lot of that these days, but I've been playing more and more again with sort of cardio and sort of activating my nervous system, because for a long time it was all about sort of downshifting it, because I had so much activation that was not necessarily helpful. But it's finding our way into that playful activation without alarm, like
a safe place to activate that. So
I mean,
let's
mobilize without fear is what it's kind of called in the nervous system talk world. It's like,
and lions, cubs, they're learning how to do that. They know what that edge is. It's to build some muscles for later, right? They know what they'll need to do for survival out in the savannah, but in the moment they're learning how to interact with one another.
Another thing that just popped in is what, as you said, that was, we learn through play.
We do learn.
We learn through play, and we learn so much better through play than we do through any other modality. I think even as adults, when we're having fun, when we're having a good time, it's just so much more apt to stick around.
Yeah. And there's moments. Yeah. Like, so we're bringing in play in Italy. We really are inviting in an essence, it's almost like an outcome. We want to have as much play as possible.
Yeah.
And less about doing, like, I've got to check off this and this and this, and I want to create this one thing, but it's like, we want to create through play.
Yeah. What happens when you lean into play to such a degree and with a level of abandon that like allows you to let go of all that agenda and just be in the moment and fully enjoying yourself? And what is the juiciness that you get from that? And how does that really feed your creative self?
So creative. I had the image of the I Love Lucy scene where they're like stomping on grapes, right, at a winery, right? And it's like it's this motion of like, yes, and the look on her face is like full play. This is fun.
Yes, I can just feel it, the squelching in between my toes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think it'll be a season in July, but it'll be something like where are those experiences that we can really tap into? Embodied play.
Sensory is what comes to mind, is like, because that's so much of what that is, right? Deep sensory immersion. Yeah.
So come join us. We're going to be in Italy this summer for Creation Vacation. How do we create play? How do we create ideas, have conversations around what wants to emerge? What's the impact that we want to have in this world through community and through connection? So we're going this summer. Reach out to one of us and ask questions. We're going to have another Q&A call in April. I'll put the link below in our comments, and come join us. And it's going to be a delightful time of play and creativity.
We want to play with you. Join us, please. It'll be so fun.
That's it. Okay, we'll see you all.
Bye, everyone. Happy April Fool's Day.